Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, I don't know. I am very happy to be here. I am Monsignor Sánchez, former Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and Social Sciences of the Pope. And I am also Professor of History of Philosophy in the University of Roma, Lunza, former professor also. So, but I am really very happy to be with you, and especially with Professor Sachs and the other partners that I know very well, and we can do something very important. You know, Mission 4.7 is a collective of organizations like Columbia Universities, SAD, SN, also Ban Ki-moon Center, and the university together with the SADG 4.7. We will start by the keynote speech by the Professor Jeffrey Sachs. All people know Jeffrey Sachs, we don't know a presentation, but really for me is a great leader again to the climate change, and also to eliminate the poverty in the world, and to have a great concern about the poor people. So, please, Jeff, say your introduction. Okay, we have 8 minutes.
Great. Thank you very much. And Monsignor Marcelo Sánchez Sorondo led the Pontifical Academy of Science and Social Sciences for many years and created great institutions. And when you read the encyclicals of Pope Francis, for example, Laudato Si, which is a brilliant, brilliant teaching about climate change, you have a lot of his wisdom and the organizational wisdom, because in order to produce an encyclical like that, the Church brought together the world's leading climate scientists on many occasions and gave a very deep reflection on the relationship of the theology, the science, the ethics in an absolutely beautiful way. It's a lot of hard work. So the Pope doesn't get all the credit. The Pope is the genius that brings it all together, but the hard work is the work of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and Social Sciences. And for me, it is a good taking off point for the kind of curriculum that we need. We need a very rich curriculum that helps all of us, but especially young people, understand that we're in an interconnected world. We're interconnected both with the physical earth, of course, and that's not simple to understand. And we're interconnected with each other in our own immediate communities where we work with our families or communities or local government to solve problems. And we're interconnected over long distances with people we don't know and we shouldn't kill. But instead, we should be cooperating with and finding ways to understand each other. It's amazing, by the way, we can Zoom anywhere effortlessly, but we don't talk to each other. And every day I offer my Zoom account to President Biden so that he could Zoom with President Putin or with President Xi. They think it's some great deal that every 5 years they meet. Come on. How about a phone call? How about a chat? How about actually understanding each other? How about not having the stupidities that my president said yesterday, that we have to fight now because otherwise we'll fight later? Maybe if he talked now, we wouldn't have to fight later. So we really need a different way of understanding and thinking about things. We need to connect our classrooms. 30 years ago, actually in 1996, I know it was 1996, so it was 27 years ago, I had my first Zoom call. Of course, there was no Zoom then. It took 2 weeks. We had to wire a hotel especially. And then we had a conversation between Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the finance minister of India. I thought it was a miracle. It took only 2 weeks to prepare for that call, and then he was on a TV screen, and we spoke in real time for an hour. Now, come on, we can do this all the time. Shouldn't children be in classrooms with children halfway around the world? Shouldn't they be talking with each other? Shouldn't they be having the knowledge and experience? It's a big interconnected world. Let's work on a project together. Let's, you solve your, maybe we'll help solve your village's problems. You help solve New York City's problems. That's a good exercise for high school students across the world. Then we can compare and we can explain that it doesn't work that way in the village, doesn't work that way in New York City. Help people to learn, help young people to learn the context. So I'm a very, very big believer that we should be using the new technologies. We should be having multimodal education. For the first 25 years of my pedagogy, which started in 1980 as an assistant professor, it was exactly the same. I stood up and talked. Sometime around, I don't know, somewhere in there came PowerPoint. Maybe that ruined everything. But suddenly that became a thing. But now everything's different about education. How you teach, where you teach, how you should organize, how to use the internet, what ChatGPT should teach us versus what we can learn. All these are really wonderful opportunities. We need to be very creative. We need to get every child connected, I believe, online. That's a minimum easy thing to do, by the way. Of course, in poor places, somebody's got to give 100 million tablets. So it's not so hard. This is something to get organized with. The dumb thing in this world is that the political leaders don't understand how central education is to making the world safe, secure, and prosperous. A lot of people in poor countries know it full well but can't afford it. A lot of people in rich countries might suspect it but don't care about those who can't afford it. So we're also at a moment where we need to make a new kind of global politics crystallize so that we basically take a lot of power out of the hands of people like Biden, who's useless as far as I'm concerned, and put it into the hands of communities and people that need things to have the chance to actually get done what needs to be done. These national politicians, this goes back a long way, but when the world is global, you can't organize by the whims of individual national politics. Even cooperation among these nations, which is what we urgently need, is not a sufficient thing. We need global connectivity. We need new kinds of governance. In other words, we're in a new world. We should behave that way. We should give due respect to our politicians, which means not very much. Due means appropriate, not a lot. And we should give them the respect that they deserve. In my country, almost none, because they don't behave decently. They don't tell the truth. They don't stop fighting. They don't even understand diplomacy, even though that's their main job. So let's help the young generation to understand better what this world can be, and that's really the task of education. And we're going to hear from a number of people who are working on this. Let me say that in my capacity as president of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, we are committed to helping to provide curricula, online materials, connected learning, connected classrooms. I will be teaching a class next September onward, which will be global, free, available to students around the world. We filmed in 171 sites around the world. You'll see, I think, a 30-second clip of it shortly. But join. Once a month, I will have a live classroom around the world so that students will come together. We'll bring the Secretary General of the UN. We'll bring Monsignor. We'll bring others to meet with the students around the world. And we'll make the kind of class for a global world that we really need. This is the kind of innovation that we can make. Thank you very much.
Thank you, please, Ambassador, could you speak? So, Ambassador Jurrian Middelhoff is the Ambassador of Young Education and Skill, Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for coming. The question for you is, what are some avenues in higher education where youth eco-innovation voices have been heard and incorporated? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monsignor. I think it's working, yes. Thank you very much, Professor Sachs, for your very inspiring words. For the Netherlands, creating youth ownership in education is key. We might be talking about changing educational curricula, creating new governmental policies, or implementing a business innovation. But if we want change to consolidate, youth ownership is key. So let me bring you back to when this idea first took hold. We had no idea how to go about it. How do you create youth ownership? And well, as the good policy makers that we are, we decided that we would tackle this question by organizing a meeting. And there we came up with a bunch of good ideas of what we thought youth would need. And this we then translated into effective policy, which then needed to be transformed into programs. And after much effort and a lot of goodwill, we realized we were talking about youth and not with youth. And think about it. How would you feel if a group of people would come together and decide what is best for you? Overlooked, ignored probably, most likely frustrated. So every person here wants to be part of the conversation, and especially when that conversation is about your needs and your future. And therefore we did for a bureaucracy a very scary thing, and we asked the youth what they thought they needed. So we consulted over 1,200 youth from all over the world. And wouldn't you know, youth exactly knows what they want and what they need to improve their livelihood. So not only today, but their futures as well. And their first demand was good education. Why? Because education for many of them is a stepping stone to achieve their second demand, a dignified livelihood through work or through becoming an entrepreneur. What youth really wants is an economic opportunity, the opportunity to build one's own life. And how very much out there, right? And the third demand is the ability to participate as equals in processes that affect their lives, such as COP here, for example. So education as a stepping stone, economic opportunities to build a dignified life, and participation to contribute to society. Thankfully for us, nothing too shocking nor innovative, but instead things we could actually work with. So we decided to make these the pillars of our Youth at Heart policy. The policy of the Dutch government to place youth at the center of its foreign and development cooperation. And Youth at Heart has taught us so many things. If you allow me, some examples of how working with youth has brought us during the last years. Through actively working with youth, we are transforming our own foreign educational policy. A team of young consultants, researchers and policymakers, both in the Netherlands as well as in countries that we work with, are developing groundbreaking paths in order to close the skills gap between formal education systems and the needs of the labor market. working closely with business partners ensures a balance between meeting the needs of today while also moving towards green and digital skills needed to cope with future challenges. By facilitating access to policymakers, youth in the Netherlands have created a successfully lobbied for a so-called generational assessment. This assesses new laws on social as well as climate impact for both current youth as well as for future generations. And through investing in diplomatic skills and amplifying the voices of these youth ambassadors, this youth-led innovation is now gaining international traction. And through training and affordable financial investments, we've seen visionary entrepreneurs come up with great solutions to tackling waste, dumping, and also restructuring their local waste collection chain, for example. I can name a few examples. Fast Octopus is a company in Egypt that are tackling waste dumping, and in EcoTutu in Nigeria are delivering 100% solar-powered cold storage to the agricultural sector. So many great innovations, all youth-led. Thank you very much.
I want to give the talk to Vidya Pinday. Please, Vidya, but the question that we put But the question that we put to you is, as an eco ambassador, how have you been helpful to push for sustainability in the youth township?
Okay, let me see. Is this working? Yeah. Okay. Hello, namaste everyone. My name is Vidya Bindal and I am a 10th grader at Milburn High School in New Jersey, United States. I am and have been an eco-ambassador and an imperfect climate activist since 2019 with Columbia University's Earth Institute. I'd like to keep my thanks for this opportunity short, as there truly is a lot that needs to be discussed today. However, there are some names that I must mention, for these are people who have continued to personally inspire me: Dr. Sachs, Dr. Iyengar, and all the panelists with me today. Growing up, we were always a frugal and an environmentally aware family. But my active climate journey began during my trip to India 4 years ago with SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production. I noticed India's elimination of plastic straws in various restaurants and decided to come back to my town, Milburn, to see how a similar initiative could be implemented in our local schools. After compiling a presentation on how India and a few rare schools in the US were doing it, I presented a reusable cutlery research to both the principal of my elementary school and the superintendent of Milburn schools. The elementary school then activated a plastic cutlery ban because the principal was already inclined to do that, but the same could not be done for all schools. In fact, the school even issued reusable cutlery to students, complete with a cutlery bag. I'd submitted my presentations and goals to the call for the first ever Eco-Ambassador program that year in 2019, and my project was selected. I was invited to present in Columbia University's Earth Institute during Climate Week to an insightful audience, including Dr. Sachs. I, along with many others in the community, then made presentations in the town hall to support a town-wide ban on single-use plastic bags, SDG 11. I organized a movie night in the local library to watch sustainability documentaries, followed by a discussion session, SDG 13. I created a survey to understand our town's willingness for town-wide food waste composting, SDG 11. Over the years, I've actively participated in organizing and executing projects such as monitoring microplastics in our town's Rahway River, SDG 14, cleanup drives and plogging hikes, SDG 15, fast fashion awareness, SDG 5, have written and presented across multiple blogs and forums, and am currently assisting in writing a toolkit for global citizenship education alongside the Ban Ki-moon Foundation, SDG 13, and finally, native plant information, including distribution of native plant saplings and creation of native plant gardens on public spaces, SDG 15. I mentioned these sustainable development goals because that's what they're good for. I admire this framework for being an international guideline where there's something for everyone, to take action on anything they believe in, and to empower those who want to make change. But that alone isn't enough. The white paper I helped collaborate on emphasized the necessity of youth programs such as Eco-Ambassadors. I've grown up wearing the badge of a climate activist with pride, benefiting from the guidance and resources afforded to me through this. And I know that others can too. I participated in several eco-conversations and education summits organized by it virtually during the pandemic and in person thereafter. This past summer in particular, twice I was able to interact with a large international contingency of youth and policy-making groups, exchanging ideas and brainstorming. I've been empowered with thought and voice to enable action in not just myself, but hopefully others. For the first time, we see education receiving a seat at this international table. It gives me some hope, but there are a few things that need to be pointed out. My take on youth is one. Yes, there are youth out there who are not eco-aware, and the fault lies with the adult world that has simply not normalized environmentalism at all, really. Not in school curriculums, nor in social settings. Dr. Iyengar and Dr. Z's book, Climate Change Education, mentions the KAB approach, knowledge, attitude, and behavior, that though one may have the knowledge, the attitude and behavior are not directly related to it. But that just emphasizes that we need to incorporate climate education into everything, to learn how to be global citizens and to find a solution to this systems problem with a system solution. 2, the following guidance and resources that you then provide need to fit every child. Youth want to help. We're not immune to the climate crisis, and we have to carry this burden for the rest of our lives. Kids have all sorts of interests, which form different passions. I myself play soccer, compete in track and field, do Indian classical dance, and am an eco-ambassador among my academics. Those are the things that have encouraged me to follow climate activism for gender equality, biodiversity, and research in environmental science. I'm convinced that youth environmental leaders come in different types, with different hobbies, and that's who the guidance should be aimed at. Those are our experiences that form our unique perspectives, and why wouldn't you help us help ourselves for the problem that you created? This white paper mentioned case studies such as the Green Program, UNESCO's operational strategy on youth, UNICEF Generation Unlimited, but we need more and we need it now. And let me reemphasize again, an imperfect environmentally active youth is a large stepping stone to this end goal, because that means living sustainably, within your means, but still living. It's a life with your chosen amount of sacrifices, if that's really what you want to call it, away from material, unsustainable habits or purchases. But that means that you are living sustainably, and that needs to become the new norm through green skills and green education. In a world where temperatures are rising, natural disasters are worsening, and human lives are lost, you aren't just shortening our futures, but you're ending our childhoods. We are young. We have the courage. We have the visions. Our sense of life, that's what makes us kids. But that's also exactly what you're taking away from us by just sitting idly by and not giving us the tools to combat this climate crisis. Give us guidance, resources, education, but just give us something. Thank you.
I have a question for you, very specific. And the question is, what are some key recommendations from the perspective of the eco-innovation report that you find compelling, especially for the people today?
So hi everyone, my name is Ishan Jain. I'm an 11th grader at the Pingree School in New Jersey, USA. So firstly, I want to thank the rewirEd Summit, the Center for Sustainable Development, and of course specifically Dr. Radhika Iyengar for this amazing opportunity to present here at this panel. I would also like to thank all the authors of the Eco-Innovations Report, which provides a comprehensive roadmap for policymakers to promote youth and engagement and innovations. So drawing from my own personal experiences as a youth volunteer working on various environmental initiatives, I would like to note the recommendations that I found compelling in this report. First and foremost, I couldn't agree more with the recommendation that policymakers should enhance education and awareness about sustainability issues by integrating topics about such as global citizenship as mandatory in school curricula. If concepts like sustainability, circularity, and climate change are not taught to students around the world as a part of their core curriculum from an early age, then we are at risk of raising future generations who continue to believe in the raising of false paradigm of infinite economic growth, measured by endless production and consumption of material things as the only measure of success. Personally, as a 5th grade student, a classroom activity was presented to me. In this activity, a green team facilitator in my town divided our classroom into 2 groups. One group was given a packet of chips, and the other group was forced to watch them. Then, after that, the packet of chips, the empty packet of chips, was given to the second group. So one group got to eat chips, and the other group had to deal with the waste. we learned that this mirrored real life, that this situation portrayed in the classroom was happening even in our town of Milburn, one of the wealthiest in the state, has a very large waste footprint, and our waste gets burnt in an underprivileged town called Newark, right nearby. For a group of 5th graders, this simple classroom activity was a powerful illustration of the concept of environmental justice. On the other hand, my first introduction to the issue of plastic pollution also happened in 5th grade, while participating in an Earth Day poster competition. I learned that if we stayed on our current unsustainable path of production and consumption, by 2050 there would be more plastic in the oceans than fish. When I realized that there was a single-use plastic ban being debated in our town, I knew I wanted to help, but honestly I didn't really know where to begin. However, encouraged by my first mentor, my mom, I, along with my brother, set up a table at our local library to ask for pledges to give up single-use plastics and support a plastic ban ordinance. Since that early exposure, concepts of sustainability, equity, and justice have become important lenses through which I see the world. These early experiences have also taught me that education is the first step to solving any societal problems, and as young as I was, I had the power to make a change and inspire others. I have since then worked on several community projects as an eco-ambassador, such as promoting food waste, recycling, or drafting a native plant resolution this past summer. Furthermore, determined to spread awareness at a larger scale about SDG 14, last year I co-founded a student organization, All for Oceans, with a friend to engage students by connecting their love for marine life and aquatic sports with a platform to become stewards of our oceans. We have now expanded over the last year to 15 high schools in 3 countries, and looking ahead, we hope to create a global community of young ocean enthusiasts who will all work towards achieving 5 out of 10 targets set by SDG 14. Reduce marine pollution, protecting and restoring ecosystems, reducing ocean acidification, sustainable fishing, and conserving coastal and marine areas. As I look back on all the initiatives that I've worked on since 5th grade, I realize how important mentorship and access to resources have been to enable me. How, honestly, I doubt I would ever be as deeply involved in the environmental issues or even have the chance to present here at the rewirEd Summit at COP28 if I didn't have these mentors like Dr. Radhika Iyengar and my mom. I was fortunate to have great mentors who filled the gap of sustainability education at my school. However, for most students, the issues is at best glanced over in school and probably not talked about at home. No surprise, that is one of the key findings in the report of Eco-Innovations. It's an untapped opportunity across North America and the world. Therefore, I wholeheartedly agree with the recommendation for policymakers should promote mentorship initiatives that connect youth innovators with experienced advisors and professionals, as well as provide access to innovation hubs, incubators, and accelerators to young people. To this end, I and a few other students are working with the Ban Ki-moon Foundation and the Center for Sustainable Development to create a toolkit of resources and training to teach other students how to become global citizens and what that really entails. I hope this toolkit, which will be released next spring, can help students around the world start their own innovations in the SDG space. So I'd like to end with a quote from President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. This quote couldn't be more apt than today, given the existential threat that my generation is facing with climate change. I hope that the adults negotiating our future at this conference realize that while they have not fulfilled their obligation of being good stewards of our planet, at the very least, they owe it to our generation to equip us with the knowledge and the tools to deal with the challenges staring us in the face. Thank you.
Congratulations, son. So that is the turn of the Dr. Wen-Wen Tung, Associate Professor and Director of the Geodata Science for Professional MSc Program, Purdue University. And the question for you is, in your opinion, what role does higher education in fostering eco-innovation? How will our report help to us to this? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sounds like this is working. I'm so proud of the youth on the team, and I hope that when they enter university, they will find it a place that can help them achieve their goals. In a world grappling with climate change, higher education institutions are not just centers of learning, they are crucibles of action. We can observe today's youth at North American institutions, the youth are demonstrating a remarkable adaptability and drive for sustainability. Many youth are change makers. They have been demanding action and leading the charge in developing and implementing solutions, from climate technologies to policies that ensure a greener future. And fostered by massive open data, artificial intelligence revolutionized how the youth communicate and engage in complex global issues. Institutions across all sectors, education, business, government, and civil society, must therefore recognize the youth as indispensable partners. We must invest in their education, support their innovations, and provide platforms for their voices to be heard using the SDG set by the United Nations as a blueprint for this partnership. So, what role does higher education play in fostering eco-innovation, according to the report written with my colleagues? The first and foremost is through curriculum designs. At universities, instructors could weld high-level skills and in-depth knowledge together. That way, students can synthesize procedural-level knowledge, and that leads to know-how as well as a systems thinking that are conducive for the students to design eco-innovation projects. Currently, it is important to teach the science as well as the literacy of climate change and carbon capture, storage, use, while the former encourage our students to look into the challenges we are facing in terms of sustainable development. And the latter offers possible solutions and also a vision into the future of a low-carbon economy. Higher education institutions, especially those with strong research focus, should promptly integrate emerging technologies into the curriculum and make it open. For example, technologies like data science and artificial intelligence are crucial for addressing sustainability and climate change issues. They enable the analysis of extensive, massive data from natural and human-built systems for accurate climate modeling, estimate climate risks, enhance renewable energy systems, and develop sustainable transportation. They also aid in ecosystem management, biodiversity monitoring, and advancing carbon capture techniques to reduce emissions. Synergistic with the teaching of knowledge and skills, the curriculum should also encompass the teaching of ethics and values. So these are emphasizing our webinar as describing our white paper, in which we identify pathways where youth-led innovations can advance sustainable development goals, including designing curricula on climate justice, improving climate communication strategies, fostering mindfulness and engagement, promoting global citizenship, and harnessing ethics in action. Beyond curricula, universities can prepare the youth for when opportunities present themselves. We can establish and open innovation hubs, incubators, and accelerators for young innovators, providing them with programmatic support like funding, monitoring, mentoring, and networking. Universities can collaborate with the public and private sectors and promote cross-disciplinary insights to support youth-led solutions for sustainability challenges. Last but not the least, higher education institutions should lead mentorship initiatives connecting young innovators with experienced professionals across various sectors. Mentorship programs should be diverse and inclusive, catering to youth from all backgrounds to foster inclusive leadership, mindsets, and skills. In summary, higher education institutions are particularly instrumental in boosting youth learning outcomes. It is imperative that we do so by focusing on education for sustainable development, teaching emerging technologies, ethics, and values. Universities should create environments that support young innovators. We can enhance practical experiences through partnership across sectors. We should mentor diverse youth leaders and inclusively develop leadership mindsets and skills. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Tung. So, that is the moment of you, Reverend Betsee Parker, and also friend, the Baroness of Locheil. I don't know the pronunciation of this city, Locheil. Locheil. Thank you. The question for you is, as a philanthropist, who believes in SDG 4.7 and Mission 4.7, what guidance do you have for the Mission 4.7 to be more youth-focused? Thank you.
Distinguished participants, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today as we discuss the crucial topic of Mission 4.7 and its importance in shaping a brighter future for our youth. As a philanthropist dedicated to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 4.7, I firmly believe that this mission holds the key to empowering our entire younger generation. Today, I'd like to share some guidance on how we can make Mission 4.7 more youth-focused within the limited time. I see we're already at time's up. I have supposedly about 5 minutes. I promise to be under that. First and foremost, we need to recognize that young people are the driving force behind positive change. Their voices, their ideas and aspirations should be at the forefront of all in Mission 4.7. To ensure youth-focused action, we must engage and involve all youth in the entire process. This means creating platforms for active participation, providing opportunities for them to contribute their valuable perspectives, and actively listening to their needs and desires. By doing so, we can foster a sense of ownership and empower our youth to lead their own educational journeys. Second, we must work towards creating inclusive and equitable learning environments for all youth. Education should be accessible to all, irrespective of their socioeconomic background or geographic location. Supporting initiatives that provide scholarships and financial aid to underprivileged students can help bridge this gap in many ways. Additionally, digital literacy programs and access to technology should be prioritized to ensure that every young individual has the tools they need to succeed in this difficult digital age. Furthermore, Mission 4.7 needs to address the importance of holistic education. Our focus should extend beyond mere academic achievements and encompass the development of well-rounded individuals. Skills such as critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and empathy should be nurtured alongside traditional subjects. By encouraging interdisciplinary learning and promoting extracurricular activities, we can equip our youth with the skills necessary to thrive in an ever-changing, ever-evolving world. In addition to these key points, partnership and collaboration are essential for successful implementation and for sustainability. collaboration between individuals, governments, non-governmental organizations, private organizations, and communities is critical in ensuring the success of youth-focused initiatives. We must build strong networks and share best practices to magnify impact and reach. Lastly, we must encourage culture of a strong lifelong learning. Empowering young individuals to be self-directed learners will enable them to adapt to the fast-paced changes unfolding all around us. Promoting continuous professional development opportunities and encouraging curiosity should be integral parts of Mission 4.7. In conclusion, to make Mission 4.7 more youth-focused, we need to encourage young people through active participation, create inclusive learning environments, foster holistic education, prioritize collaboration, and nurture a culture of lifelong learning. By empowering our youth and embracing their potential and their future, we can truly fulfill the goals set forth by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4.7. Together, let's all pave the way for a bright and sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for really very important things. So, at this moment, we have the projections of Marian Rabi. And please, Marian, speak about ECHO Ambassador Program on SED, SNE, and SDGs today. And the question to you is, how does SDGs today help to foster eco-innovation among young people? Thank you.
Thank you, Monsignor, for the question. We're at time, so I've already started my presentation in the background. So I lead a program called SDGs Today at SDSN, and our goal is to advance the production and use of timely and geospatial data for the SDGs. We work with a wide range of stakeholders within the SDG community, so policymakers, researchers, journalists, youth networks, and students. And when it came to tackling the question of what we can do to empower youth and students, we thought, how do we equip them with the data, the knowledge, and the skills they need to be better policymakers of the future and better decision makers of today? And so I've had the pleasure of working and collaborating with Dr. Yangar and her team to develop a program that combines technical training on data and geographic information systems with lessons on the SDGs and digital storytelling. And so our goal is, so if we have students who want to tackle the issue of plastic waste, how can they use satellite imagery to detect plastic waste dump sites or plastic density in their community? Or if we have students who want to tackle the issue of distances to schools and how that impacts enrollment rates, how can they use crowdsourced data to do that analysis? So the goal is for data-driven solutions, data-driven call to actions, and I think I have to move on to the next slide, to empower them with the tools where they can communicate those solutions, tell those stories to their policymakers, and have an impact on shaping the future of their communities. So what you see on the screen are some of the top final projects that the students have presented to us in this year's program. So over the course of this 10-week program, which is global and virtual and free for all middle school and high school students, we ask them to create a interactive story map to present their solution or call to action or their final project. And so this application, the ArcGIS Story Map tool, is a multimedia tool where you can embed images, interactive dashboards, text, videos. As you can see, it's multimedia and very dynamic, and it has proven to be a great way to communicate sometimes very technical issues or solutions to a wider community. And so every year, even though the overarching theme are the SDGs, we come up with a main theme that we ask the students to tackle. And so this past year, these projects that you see were based off of actually Professor Sachs's book, The Age of Sustainable Development, and also what are the stories that you would want to let leaders at COP28 know about the local challenges that you're dealing with in your communities. So this is the result of the work that they have done over the past summer. So I don't know if we have time for all of the projects, but I would like to also go back to Professor Sachs's point about the global course that he is developing, The Ages of Globalization. It's a one-of-a-kind course that, again, is going to bring history, geospatial analysis, sustainable development, and many other topics together. I won't do it justice, so why don't we just watch the trailer together?
We're going on a journey across place and time through the 7 ages of globalization.
Why are we taking this journey together? Because we are in search of solutions for a world that is in challenge.
From the savannas of Africa to the fertile delta of the Nile, from the rainforests of the Amazon to the Great Wall of China. Each age offers us wisdom and clues for our own survival and well-being. Informed by the past and learning the lessons of history, we can find the solutions to building the future we want. Our vision is a world at peace with economic prosperity and with social justice. A world in which we are the stewards of the earth so that we pass along our planet healthy and intact to future generations. The Ages of Globalization, a guide for global citizens.
So you can download our report by using the BAU code that is in maybe you can put here, please, you can put here the BAU code. Anyway, we are arriving to the end, and I want to say something and after give the talk to Jeff. I say Jeff this morning, and I'll say also in this very nice film, we are in the time of the artificial intelligence. We are in the time of these wars, terrible wars. We are in the time of climate change. We are in the time of fraternity and all these things. And education, as all of you say, and we also think, is a very important say. This morning, Jeff quoted Aristotle, and Aristotle in the Politics say, the mission of the human being is transmit to other human beings the same ideas, the same education, the same values. So, and this is the more important generation that we can do. Generate another human being like, or better than the human being that we are. So, but for these things, I think that we are not computers. We are not intelligent, artificial intelligence. we have a soul, say the Greeks, and we have a spiritual dimension that is very important. In the contrary, we can have values. So for me, it's very important in the education to put these contents, the contents that anthropologically the human being is different to the other beings. We have many things in common with the superior animals, but we have a different soul. As say in our meeting, the more important paleoanthropologist, Coppens, say that he was the discoverer of Lucy 3 billions and 200,000 years ago, Lucy. And he say, the difference of Lucy of the other superior mammifer is because Lucy have the same soul that we have. And this soul is because he had the possibility to pray. I don't say this. Of course, I agree with this because I am a bishop also. But this was said by a paleoanthropologist. It's Coppens, that is the most famous anthropologist that we have today, and this member of the Academy of Science. So, please, we need to come back to these great ideas that are in all our civilizations. We are here, as say Jeffrey Sachs this morning, in a very big tradition of the Muslim culture. I say also Jeffrey Sachs this morning, the Western was educated by the Arabs. Thomas Aquinas read for the first time the more great philosopher and theologian of our Western, that is Thomas Aquinas. He learned Aristotle by the Arabs. Averroes was his master, and Avicenna was his master. So this is the real basis of our common civilization. And our common civilization recognizes that we have not only matter. To say that we are only matter is not a scientific conclusion. It's only a conclusion of the media and say Pope Francis, the colonizations of the great powers, economic great powers that want to say that we are only matter. And this is a form of be slaves. So we need to have a civilization that put in the center the freedom, that put in the center the love, that put in the center the values. In the contrary, we can have these things that we have today, wars and wars and wars for power. So please remember these very important values of our civilization. Please, Jeff, you can say something in conclusion.
Thank you for putting values at the center of our discussion. I want to ask our dear friend, distinguished member of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. I'm sure that one of the most important things that youth want is peace. The Netherlands is very pro-NATO and very pro-war in Ukraine, I'm sorry to say, like my country, the United States. Can you go back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and propose that the youth in the Netherlands, in Ukraine, and in Russia work together on solutions? Because obviously their parents have failed badly. They're not solving the problem. The NATO countries are not solving the problem. But maybe the youth would have some ideas about how to stop the war. Maybe they could study the origins of the war, because our governments don't tell the truth about this. This is not an unprovoked war. This is a war in which Russia and the United States did not speak with each other properly for a long time. By the way, mainly the United States did not listen to Russia for a long time, because the U.S. thought it was all powerful and that Russia was washed up, as Obama arrogantly said, a second-rate power, or as one of our senators said, a gas station with nuclear weapons. And when Russia said, don't expand NATO, the United States said, what? We don't hear you. Don't expand NATO. Who are you? Don't expand NATO. It has nothing to do with you. So young people would hear much better. And I would love you to take it back. The Netherlands, by the way, brought us the modern world, taught the British about a lot of good values. That's why we love Rembrandt and the great painters of the Dutch Renaissance, because you invented modernity in a lot of ways. It's true. No, it is really true. And you brought it in 1689 to England in the Glorious Revolution. And so this was a Dutch set of ideas. But now, too much NATO, not enough peace. We need more good Dutch common sense, because you are the most commonsensical people in the world also. So please go back and say that young people can solve the war, and it's time to let them do it. Not to send them to the front lines to die, which is literally what's happening today in Ukraine. And we're backing that. We're telling them, go round up by force. No elections anymore. You just round up by force young people. I watched the war by the hour. They're going to the front lines and they're being killed. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Ukrainian young people. They don't want this. This is not right. We need to stop the war today. So I want to just take the opportunity. Your initiative for young people surely is that they want a future. They want peace. Climate change will solve tomorrow. Today, let's solve ending the wars.
Amen.
And that's the assignment for the young people. The older people need to get out of the way, because the young people will absolutely stop the fighting. Thank you.